Commissioners, I'd like for you to consider adding an item to the agenda. At your last meeting, there was an item on your agenda regarding the Emergency Operations Center. This was inadvertently left off of tonight's agenda. As you may recall, there's a possibility for the county to apply and be funded for 50% of the cost of equipping the county's Emergency Operations Center. It's estimated that to equip the Emergency Operations Center would be between $15,000 and $20,000. 50% of that obviously would be between $7,500 and $10,000. So I'd like to request for you to consider adding this to the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
To add to the agenda, need a second? You have to have a second to add to the agenda? I need a second. All in favor?
Wait, don't we get to discuss?
We'll just add it to the agenda.
Just add to the agenda.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
All in favor? Unanimous, okay. And I defer to Mr. James E. Howell, our fire chief, for a little summary here. Mr. Howell?
As y'all recall, during the working session, I presented basically what Mr. Howard had just said, and what we were asking for was a commitment from this board. Before we proceeded to ask for and work towards that grant, would be a commitment for those matching funds. I had told you at the last meeting I was trying to have a more detailed cost. For that, I have nobody to blame but myself, and I take full responsibility for not having those figures for you tonight. It's been a little hectic in the last few days. I think we're still looking at within those figures that we gave you, and it's certainly a chance for us to save the taxpayers some money if we get this grant. If we don't get the grant, then we just don't proceed with it, and we'll wait till next year and try again.
Chief Howell, we need an emergency operations center fully staffed, and fully equipped. It's a safety issue as far as I'm concerned.
It would make, as prone as Lee County has been over my tenure here with the fire department, as far as tornadoes, wind events, rain events, and all, certainly we have our share of disasters in Lee County. Certainly would make operating in those for emergency personnel better. It's going to help us. If we ever have a major disaster and a presidential grant was awarded, it's going to make us easier to recover those funds that we ask for. If we've done everything by the letter of the law, the way that FEMA wants things done here in emergency, and that is one of the things they want done. They want the EOC staff and manned and properly operated using the National Incident Management System.
Well, in my opinion, I think it's totally necessary for the safety of the citizens. That's my opinion. It's up to the will of the board. Do you want Mr. Chief Howell to pursue this? Apply for the grant?
Can I ask Chief Howell?
Sure.
I mean, you say that there's been events that can you give me some examples of, besides the flood of '94, that we might have
We had,
been?
of course, the flood of '94 was a presidential declaration. 4 years later, it was a 500-year event, and 500 years flew right by. Because in '98, we were sitting there looking at the same situation again. And of course, that 500 years may show in my face, but I think I experienced some of that. Certainly took a toll on me. We had, 93, we had a major tornado out in the Redbone area. Prior to that, I think 86, 87, we had another major tornado in the Redbone. We had numerous, whether they're tornadoes, down shears, microbursts. We've had some major wind events in Lee County. A lot of these events happen out rural, and it hits trees and woods and agricultural land, and nobody really even knows about them when they happen. We recently had one that set down within the last year over on Crockwell Road, just west of 19, and ran through the entire county all the way to the river, and just tore the porch off of one structure, but basically the woods. As Lee County grows and we build out, these storms are starting to affect more and more homes, where before they were affecting trees and farmland and bigger irrigation, as those events go. As the county builds out this urban interface and build more residential out in areas, then those storms affect us.
And as opposed to what you do now, you would, somebody, I'm assuming you, since you're the emergency management guy, would call a disaster, and then you and a representative from the sheriff's department and congregate there?
Right. What we would do is, at some point that we feel like it's out of the normal bounds of dispatch handling, they're exceptionally good at what they do. They can handle the smaller, incidences. At some point, as those incidences grow, we need to increase staffing. What we do, the way the system works, when you staff the EOC, there's responsible people. I typically would be there from the EMA side, and also can speak from the fire department perspective. There'd be someone there from law enforcement, EMS, public works, and from every. And what it is when we need something. The sheriff's department needs, or EMS needs this road cleared. We need such and such piece of equipment. Well, let me see if I can get a hold of Mike's sister and get you an answer. Well, that's not what you don't want happening in a disaster. You want him sitting there and give you that answer right then. Yes, I've got 2 pieces of equipment available. I can have it coming to you now. Same thing from the financial side. Mr. Owers or someone from his perspective would be there. But we need 2 pumps. If we don't get 2 pumps right now, there's going to be houses damaged or loss of, say, this building or something. We've got to have some emergency supplies. Someone there authorized to say, go purchase it now.
Okay.
And that's the purpose of that, staffing that EOC, is that those decisions can be made in a timely manner.
And there's going to be radios that are designated for that purpose,
There'll be-
telephones for that purpose.
We're adjacent to the 911 center, so anything that they've got going on, we'll be monitoring. We have a special channel that we can all monitor in a disaster, and it's a dedicated 911 disaster channel. That channel will be monitored.
There's a list of all the equipment on the second page that he needs to purchase to make it fully operational. It's not the only copy of this. We passed around this. Everything he needs to function as an emergency operation is listed right here that he'd have to purchase. But I think it's a safety issue as far as the citizens of the county.
The EOC is set up to build as a disaster grows or builds, such as the '94 flood. It didn't start out as a flood instantly. It built, and you can upstaff, but also as the disaster starts winding down, you can start bringing it back down and down staff.
And that equipment is dedicated to the EOC.
That equipment is dedicated to the EOC.
What do you think the life when we have to place on?
As far as technology, 2 weeks after we buy it, it's superseded by newer technology. But as far as the usable service side of it, I would expect a number of years.
Right now, we have nothing, right? Okay, that's the bottom line. Right now, we can't function. We have a disaster tomorrow, we'd be in trouble. That's just my opinion. What's the wishes of the board on this?
Well, I have a question.
Commissioner Rowland, you're up.
I reckon my question is, I just heard you tell me that y'all went through the budget, found $34,000.
No, 27,000.
27,000 to do the mapping with, and that's all the money we had now. I reckon my question is this priority over the mapping, or where's the money coming from?
I think the emergency operations center is priority, in my personal opinion. You forgot that small tornado they had out in Betty's district, Brittany Plantation too. Tore the roofs off those houses out there. This is important as far as I'm concerned. I would say it's critical, but this needs to be done. Maybe we can find the money.
If we gave you the okay, we're talking about spending the money in
All we're asking
April,
for-
May, or June, or July,
It would be as quick as we could get. We'd still have to apply for the grant, be awarded the grant, purchase the material, pay for the material, then we would be reimbursed 50%. And that's all we're asking for at this time is permission to proceed. The reason being, before we had proceeded and got some grants, and then they didn't want to fund them, and it's kind of embarrassing when you go back and tell them, we appreciate the grant, we don't want it at this time, and we just don't want to be put in that position again. What we're asking is permission to proceed with the grant. If we're awarded the grant, then we could go ahead. So we sort of commitment that if we were awarded the grant. And if we weren't awarded the grant, we'll just table it and hold off and try again next year.
I think it's imperative that you apply for this grant. It's up to the wishes of the board.